Shouldn't be too far away. The stream, where is it? It's currently loading to the channel as I speak. Still loading to the channel. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to load. There it is there. Right, audio is working as it should. The stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. That is absolutely fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome to round 6 of the PlayStation America series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm LaneEveringham, your commentator for this event, and this time we're racing at the Marina Bay Street Circuit for the Singapore Grand Prix. Constructed in 2008 and designed by track-making Supremo Herman Tilke, the 3.15-mile, 23-turn circuit is home to not only the first ever Formula One night race, but also the longest race on the modern Formula One calendar. Being a street circuit, concrete walls line the edge of the racetrack, meaning that even the slightest mistake can be severely punished. With so many technical corners such as the infamous Singapore Sling at turn 10 and the fast edge of grip final corners of turns 22 and 23, there are plenty of areas where drivers can make mistakes. Another characteristic with it being a street circuit is that it's relatively difficult to overtake. That means qualifying will prove to be an important factor for achieving victory tonight. The best overtaking opportunity, without a doubt, is with the help of DRS down towards turn 7. There are other DRS zones leading into turn 1 and turn 14, so we may see some passing in those spots, but for the most part, overtaking will happen at turn 7. The massive length of this race, coupled with the circuit's sheer difficulty, makes this arguably the most demanding race of the whole season, as KD's just been given a 5 grid place penalty for a severe collision with one of our new drivers, Suzuka. I'm going to pronounce that as. I'm not certain if that's correct, but we'll go with that. Easy Rider, former Red Bull driver, has left. He's unable to compete for the rest of the season. Suzuka has come in to fill that vacant spot. But yeah, the massive length of this race, coupled with the circuit's sheer difficulty, makes this arguably the most demanding race of the whole season. A proper test of speed, consistency, and endurance. Now, before we focus on qualifying, there is a little bit of news to go through first from last week's race in Spain. There were a few incident reports, the first involving KD and Nico. Collision at turn 1, and the result from the stewards is a 5-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for KD. There was another incident between Mighty Wombat and Rebellion, and the final result from that is a 10-second time penalty and 1 penalty point for Rebellion. KD would move from P3 to P5, and Rebellion would move from P7 to P9 in the final results. In the Drivers' Championship, Nico is still leading the way on 108 points, followed by Mighty Wombat on 101. I've just noticed as well, at the beginning of qualifying, Refixer is out, crashing out at turn 5, so we're down to 17 cars already in qualifying. So yeah, Nico leading on 108, Mighty Wombat on 101, 7 points separating the top 2 in the championship. 2 points behind Wombat is JBH in the Mercedes-Benz on 99 points, so the top 3 are separated by 9 points. KD is next on 71, followed by Axis on 63, then Rafa, who was unable to race tonight, he's on 56, then Collider on 53, Blockman on 48, Captain Schmeg on 41, and then Easy Rider, who's no longer part of the championship, on 38 points. In the Constructors, McLaren are leading on 172, followed by Mercedes on 116. So McLaren have got a really healthy lead in the Constructors, which was expected at the beginning of the season. AlphaTauri are third on 108, followed by Williams on 97. Then Aston Martin on 79, then Alpine on 70. Red Bull Racing on 65, Haas on 57, Ferrari on 47, and Alfa Romeo on 20 points. That's pretty much it in terms of news. Can now focus on qualifying. I'll just check the Discord as well for any messages too. I think KD just messaged me. Dry quali wet race. Uh-oh. That isn't usually a good sign. Especially here, of all places, at Singapore. Wet races are not fun. Black Ball are bringing out yellow flags there briefly at the exit of turn 17, trying to get out of everybody's way. At the moment, it is championship leader Nico, who sits at the top of the table with a 1 minute 36.998. P2 is his teammate, a reserve driver for tonight, C. Underwood 23. He's just set a 1 minute 37.614. Black Baller beginning a flying lap, making his way through the first sector. Quite a few drivers yet to set a lap time. That's okay, we've still got plenty of time left in this session. Do have to be a little bit careful though. With this racetrack, it has one of the longest outlaps and inlaps of any circuit on the calendar. So you need to keep a close eye on the timer, especially towards the end of a qualifying session. Flavius making his way through the final sector through turn 16, 17. Be careful of turn 17 in this year's game. It's quite a tall inside curb. If you use too much of the inside curb, the car will bottom out. There's a really high chance you go into the outside wall. Through turns 20 and 21, then up towards the final two corners on the racetrack, turns 22 and 23. Very high speed left-handers, very edge of grip. If you make a single mistake through there, it's a fairly high chance you'll spin out. And a decent chance that you'll end up in the barrier, like with many corners around this tight racetrack. Rebellion making his way into the final sector. Coming around turn 14, I mentioned this corner in the intro. You have DRS before it, so it is a potential overtaking spot, but realistically speaking, it's quite difficult to make a pass through there. KD, about to begin a flying lap, will ride on board with the McLaren driver, give you a guided tour of this racetrack. Up towards turn 1, 8th gear, bringing it down to 4th gear, clipping the first apex through turn 2, and now into the hairpin of turn 3. 3rd gear, gently applying the accelerator as he makes his way through turn 4. Now into turn 5, very important corner to get right, because it will dictate how much speed you can carry through this flat out section around turn 6 and up towards the big braking zone of turn 7, the best overtaking corner on the racetrack. 3rd gear through there, 4th gear, 5th gear, up towards turn 8, bringing it down to 2nd. Does he short shift? No. He uses all of 2nd gear there at the exit of turn 8. Around turn 9, getting nice and comfortable towards the wall there at the exit of turn 9. Up towards the Singapore Sling, turn 10. Fast left-hander into a chicane of turns 11 and 12. Over the Anderson Bridge and into the hairpin of turn 13. 2nd gear, apex speed of about 44 miles an hour there as he goes onto the straightaway up towards turn 14. This will complete the middle sector. Through the right-hander, 2nd gear, gently applying the accelerator, using a healthy amount of track on the left-hand side of the circuit. Around 15 into turn 16 and 17. Be careful of that inside curb, mentioned it earlier. Up towards turn 18, where the drivers go underneath the grandstand. Around turn 19 and up towards turns 20 and 21. Similar story here, like with turn 17. Those inside curbs can be quite nasty, so do be careful with them. And around the final two corners, turns 22 and 23. Up towards the line, and KD jumps up to pole position. 1 minute 36.746. Guitar Hero, appears that you might be on an in-lap. Yeah, he's on an in-lap. He's not using any battery. Laquito, you want a flying lap? You're making your way through the chicane. He is using battery, making his way around the hairpin of turn 13. Very difficult traction zone here, especially if you're not using TC. Saw a few times in Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1 drivers losing a little bit of control through that corner. So do need to be a little bit wary through there. Into the chicane of turns 16 and 17. He's in the Schumacher mobile as well. You can tell from the number and from the helmet. He makes his way underneath the grandstand at turn 18 through turn 19 up towards turns 20 and 21. The third sector is literally a cascade of 90-degree corners. There's half a dozen of them through that section. Do have to be very careful through all of those corners, especially in these cars as Laquito goes 12th fastest with that time. JBH appears to be on an outlap. Same with Axis. So JBH getting ready to set a flying lap here, making his way around the final two corners, then back onto the main straightaway to begin his flying lap. Down towards turn 1, 8th gear, 183 miles an hour, bringing it down to 90 miles an hour at the apex of turn 1. 2nd gear at the exit of turn 3, around turn 4. That little left-hand kink on the official track map is turn 4. Doesn't really make any sense, but hey-ho, that's the official track map. Can't argue with it. Around turn 6. Up towards turn 7. Entry speed 185 miles an hour. Apex speed at about 82 there. At the apex of turn 7. Through turn 8. Not bothering to short shift. Using all of the range in the gearbox. He makes his way up towards the Singapore Sling, turn 10. Fourth gear, down to third gear in fact. He makes his way into the chicane of 11 and 12. Axis meanwhile has invalidated his flying lap. Captain Schmeg, he's on one at the moment, making his way out of turn 5, heading up towards the first sector split. Currently P5 with a 37.9 as Mighty Wombat has just jumped up to P2 with a 1 minute 36.811. One more sector to go for JBH through the chicane of 16 and 17, then up towards 18 and 19. Their back end of the car not cooperating very well out to turn 17. The front end of the car not cooperating at turn 18. You see a lot of steering movement going through this section. He gets through it tidily without hitting a barrier and without invalidating as well. Around the final two corners, up towards the line, it's an improvement of just under half a second. 1 minute 38.027. Captain Schmeck, he's just a little bit up to the middle sector. Blockman, he's got two more corners to negotiate. Turns 22 and 23. He comes up towards the line. It's a 37.184. Fourth quickest. He improves by half a second with that lap. Nico, not on a flying lap, only using partial throttle there. Wombat is on an in lap, that's for sure. KD's on an out lap. Now, with the yellow flags about, it's difficult to tell. Oh, okay, we have 6.5 minutes left in qualifying. Because, yeah, it's really, really important that you keep an eye on the clock. You don't want to lose track of time. Underwood's jumped up to P5. Captain Schmeg is going slowly there. He must have made a mistake and he comes into pit lane. That will ruin that flying lap attempt. He comes back in with 6 minutes left. He should have enough time to do at least one more flying lap. Faziti in the pits. Axis in the pits. Rebellion out there on track at the moment. Making his way through turn 5. Into the DRS zone. Heading up towards the flat-out right-hander of turn 6. Heading up towards the big braking zone at turn 7. He's up by just under a tenth to the first sector. Fifth gear at the exit of turn 7. Up towards turn 8, bringing it down to second gear. Does he short shift? No is the answer. He doesn't need to short shift. It's quite interesting to see. You tend to see a lot of drivers short shift as he gets really, really close to the wall on the outside of turn 9. Through the Singapore Sling, turn 10. And into the chicane of 11 and 12. Third gear, modulating the throttle. There's the short shift to fourth. Over the bridge and into the hairpin of turn 13. Second gear. Does he short shift? No. Oh, a slight short shift. Had to wait a while for him to do it, but he eventually got there. Up towards the middle sector split, and he's currently up by 2.5 tenths. Black Bowler is down to the first sector, but he does still appear to be pushing. Flavius, he's making his way around the hairpin of turn 13. He's currently P13 himself as he opens DRS. Actually, no, he's backing out of that lap. Gonna let some traffic through as Black Bowler gets really close to Flavius there. And he's still down by half a tenth to the middle sector. Rebellion, 2 corners left for the Alpine driver. Turns 22 and 23. And he'll come up towards the line. And he'll improve to a 37.8. Improves by 7 tenths of a second. And jumps to P7. You reckon, Banana? Oh. Yeah, no, you caught me off guard last night when you hopped into the party. Caught me very much off guard. But as soon as you joined, you immediately left. Well, hopefully you don't need to come up here to solve your boredom. Hopefully I provide enough entertainment here. Hopefully. KD making his way through turns 20 and 21. He's heading up towards 22 and 23. Will he improve on his current personal best? The answer is yes. He finds 3 tenths of a second on that lap. Improves to a 36.422. But I think with the time left in qualifying, that might be it for KD. He's got just under 4 minutes to get back into pit lane, put on a new set of tyres, get back out there, do an out lap. Yeah, I don't think you can do that with the time remaining. I think it's qualifying over for KD. Blockman on an out lap getting ready. Rebellion's on an in lap. JBH is on an out lap. Axis has just started a flying lap heading up towards turn 1 through turn 2 into turn 3, bringing it down to third gear, short shifting to fourth. That's what you tend to see. Around turn 4, up towards turn 5, bringing it down from 6th gear down to 5th, modulating the throttle nicely, and up towards turn 6. He's got DRS open, shifted up into top gear now. Entry speed 184 miles an hour as Flavius gets disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location. Where is he? Oh, there he is there. He's now on the racing line. And here comes Axis. Well, yeah. Axis not happy about that. I wouldn't be either. He was disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location. Then the AI just decided, you know what? Let's just drive in the middle of the racing line. And Axis, yeah, he was distracted from that. I think anyone out there would have been distracted by that. Well, unlucky Axis, and I have no idea how much time we have left in qualifying because the yellow flag indicator covers up the timer. This has been a thing since F1 2019. Thank you. We got 2 minutes left in qualifying, so there should be enough time for Axis to try and have another go at a flying lap. As KD's retired in the pit lane, expected. So, that's the benchmark, folks. 1 minute 36.421. His closest rival at the moment is his teammate, Mighty Wombat, with a 1 minute 36.811. And speaking of which, he's just rejoined the session. So I think for Wombat, his session is done. For Nico, he's going to be tight on time. He's just left the pit lane, so he needs to get a move on. Speaking of getting a move on, Blockman's making his way around the lap. Just begun his flying lap, making his way around turn 4. Hello, KD. How do you do? His AI sitting in the middle of the race. Or was that Wombat's AI? No, it's Wombat's. Look at this. What is the... strange. Rebellion has retired. His session is done as Blockman is up by 600ths to the first sector. Underwood on a flying lap as well, making his way out of turn 3. You'll see the AI and Mighty Wombat just sitting there in the middle of the circuit for some reason. Making his way around turn 5. He'll open DRS and head up towards turn 6. Collider, meanwhile, he's getting ready to set a flying lap. He's got a minute left, so he should be able to set one flying lap. Underwood up by a 10th to the first sector. Blockman making his way out of turn 13 with DRS open, heading up towards turn 14. The middle sector says for Blockman, he's up and up by quite a bit, by 4.5 tenths. But he needs to find about 7 tenths to try and beat KD. 7.5 to be more accurate. Through turn 16, through turn 17, up towards 18 and 19. He'll bring it down to third gear, down to second, in fact. Underneath the grandstand, out of turn 19, up towards turns 20 and 21. Third gear, modulating the throttle nicely. Right up towards the wall on the exit. 2 corners remain for Blockman. Is it enough for pole position? The answer is no! Oh, he's missed out. Not by much, though. By only, what's that? 73 thousandths of a second. Insanely close. And Nico, lucky devil, he had enough time to do one more final flying lap in qualifying. His teammate Underwood is currently up by 0.5 tenth to the middle sector. He'll cross the line to improve by 0.3 of a second to set a 37 flat. Collider making his way around turn 14. He's currently up by 0.4 of a second to the middle sector. But in order to improve position, he needs to find 8 tenths. He needs to double the time gained through this final sector. Out to turn 19, up towards turns 20 and 21. Bringing it down to second gear, up to third, up to fourth. He's run out of battery, so he won't have any battery for the final 2 turns. Makes his way back onto the main straightaway to cross the line to improve by 0.5 second. So ZT has improved to P6 as well, I've just noticed, with a 37.150. Nico, though, our championship leader, is up by 0.2 of a second to the middle sector. He needs to find another 3.5 tenths here in the final sector to try and challenge for pole position. Around turn 18, underneath the grandstand. Around turn 19, short shifting to 4. Desperately trying to find traction. Brings it down to second. Short shifts to third. Short shifts to fourth. Oh, losing the back end. Losing time. Around 22. Around 23. Up towards the line. It's not enough for pole. He missed out by about 1/10 of a second. Oh, there we are. qualifying done. It's pole position for KD, but of course he got that 5 grid place penalty for severe collision with, let's see if we can find it. Severe collision with Suzuka. So he'll be starting P6 for this race. It'll actually be Blockman lining up on pole. Nico will line up alongside, then Wombat, then Underwood, then Suzuka, then KD. Collider will be next, then Captain Schmeg, Rebellion, Guitar Hero rounds out the 10. Then we'll have JBH, Axis, Hash, Shizant, Black Baller, Laquito, and Motion God, Refixer, and Flavius will start from the back after being DSQ'd from Quali. Lobby broken, huh? So we're gonna restart. Rightio. If we're restarting the lobby, we're restarting the lobby. Fair enough. Hit the wall and collided with the person. Yeah, okay. Game doing game things. Well, for wet. Yeah, okay. Alrighty. Let's leave. Well. These things happen. They happen. We'll get it back up and running as soon as possible. Hopefully it won't take too long. Yeah, notice that line chucking AI onto the racing lines. It just game doing game things, I guess, as it usually does. Yeah, pretty much. So. Yeah, okay, so. We'll see how it all goes down. Because, yeah, KD does have that grid penalty. According to him, it's unjustifiable, so... But I don't know if that's his call to make. I suppose if somebody has an issue with it, they could probably put it into a steward's report. But, even if there is an excuse, like, I don't know if that's his... decision to make on whether or not the penalty is justifiable. So it's okay. We can sort this all out. Bob from I'm sorry, pit lane. Yeah, it happens. Well, according to KD Manu, there's been glitches within the lobby. Drivers unable to connect properly, leaving AI in the middle of the circuit, so KD's made a decision to restart, which is probably the safest option. So, it's not necessarily down to an unjustifiable penalty, it's also the game just sort of breaking mid-session, so... Like I said, if there's any issues, zero reports. All you gotta do. But if it's a wet race, we're gonna have a long night. Very long night at Singapore. This race is long enough in the dry. In the wet, it's a different level of long. There's the invite. Alrighty. And there's the wet weather icons. Touche, Lion. Touche. Touche. Oh well. This won't be my first rodeo doing Singapore in the wet, so just got to be ready for a long one. Got to be patient, pray to the racing gods, etc., etc. Who knows, maybe if the race is that long we'll actually get to time certainty, because apparently that's actually a thing in this game, where if the race goes on for too long, it actually goes to time certainty. Apparently there was a Formula Endurance race here, and it was a full wet race all the way through, and they got up to 2 hours and the race was called by the game, even though they hadn't completed the necessary number of laps. I would guess in a 50% race that time certainty would apply as well if they hit 1 hour, maybe a bit longer. So if the race goes on forever and we have a few safety cars, yeah, we might hit time certainty. That'd be something to see. I haven't witnessed it myself as either a driver or as a commentator, but apparently it is a thing. So hopefully this doesn't take too long. We should be looking forward to a couple of interesting weeks in Race Spec as well. Next week we'll be heading over to Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix. Definitely a driver's circuit. We won't see a great deal of passing, but we'll see some pretty interesting racing. We'll probably see a half-decent qualifying session as well at Suzuka. Really technical racetrack. And then after that, we have a sprint round at Silverstone. So that is going to be a seriously interesting round. Silverstone, definitely one of the better racetracks. So to have a sprint race there should be a lot of fun. Then afterwards we go to Kota, which has been the host of some pretty epic races in the past. I think it was last season in Pacific Tier 1, commentated one of the most unbelievable races at Kota. Just action all the way through was insane. F1 on ice. Yeah, that would be what it would be like here at Singapore. Yeah, unlike you, Lion, I've never been a fan of Singapore. I kind of suck around here. Definitely not one of my favourite circuits. Just very tricky, very long. Just wears you out. But I know for some people they really, really like this racetrack. But yeah, it's just not for me. It's not my cup of tea. I'll quickly check the Discord, just make sure everything's running. Oh, that's not the right one. That's the right one. I think KD will be making the grid now with everyone in the lobby, so it will take a little while for the ready up call to come around. But when it does, we'll get ready for the race start. Wet weather Singapore Grand Prix. Gonna be a long night. I'll just be curious on whether or not it'll be Inter or full wets for the start. Looking at that icon, it looks Inter. I think that's the Inter icon. Sort of light to medium rain, not quite heavy rain, I think. Oh, actually, settings. Lobby options. No. Track select. No. Weather. Oh god. Okay, wet. It is wet. Is that full wet or into wet? That doesn't tell me much. Alright, is it Sorziti? Is that how you actually meant to pronounce it? How do you roughly pronounce it? Because that's how I interpreted it when I first looked at it. Just because of how the Z's capitalized in the middle. Sort of creates an emphasis on the Z. That was my initial guess. Yeah, I am a bit curious. If not, I'll just stick to Soul Suit. Hopefully we shouldn't take much longer with the grid either. Probably still being updated, that's okay. Really wanted Saucy, yeah. Yeah, it always sucks when names get taken away from you. Yeah, fair enough. I'll stick with Saucy then. That's alright. I can stick with that. Was that a ready up signal as well from Captain KD? Yeah, it was a ready up signal from Captain KD. Good, good. Or not. The lobby was updated. Oh well, we can look at KD's house, shall we? Look at KD's house. Marble floor, marble walls. Shizant, Captain Smeg, Flavius, Nico standing behind the Tributo, and there's Refixer by himself next to the 720S. Oh, poor Refixer. Wombat, Hash, Collider, Blockman, they're standing next to the safety car. The lovely looking AMG safety car. Black Baller, KD, Axis, and Underwood. Standing next to the pool. Yeah, there's me standing next to the Aston Martin safety car. As we're going to go back on track here at Singapore. Now, everyone watching, remember to put a setup on. Please, remember. Don't forget, you're going to be lining up on the grid with a default setup. So remember, put a setup on. Especially for a track like this where it's so high downforce, especially in wet weather conditions, especially when both are combined together. So remember, please. Otherwise you're going to be screwed. So... Alright. Everyone will ready up in a moment. Just fix the only person we're rating on. They're going through the tyre allocation confirmation screen, even though you can't change your tyre allocation at all in this. They still give you a confirmation. Are these the tyres you want? They're the only tyres you can have. Do you want them? Great. Okay, it looks like intermediate conditions, not full wet. Good, good. Nice to know. So if this is going to be inters all the way through, how many people are thinking about a no-stopper? And I'm thinking, is that even remotely possible here at Singapore? One of the circuit's niches is high tyre temperatures. They do get quite hot here at Singapore. So I don't know if you'll be able to do all 31 laps if it's intermediates all the way through. Well, yeah, I think we're all going to find out, Lion. We're all going to find out. But of course, if we have safety cars, I'll probably mix things up. So, we'll see. I'll do it. I'll keep an eye out. And off they go on their formation lap. Hopefully everyone's got a setup. Because if you don't, you're screwed. Everyone's on the intermediate tyre, so we don't need to focus on that. We'll just do a quick rundown of the grid. Blockman will be starting from pole position, followed by Nico in P2, then Mighty Wombat P3, Underwood P4, Saucy in P5, and KD's elected to serve his penalty after what happened in qualifying. He's starting P6. Collider in 7th, and Captain Schmeg Rebellion in 9th, and Guitar Hero 10th, JBH 11th, then Axis 12th, Hash in 13th, Shiz in 14th, Black Baller in 15th, and Laquito, Motion God Refixer, and Flavius will be starting from the back. 19 car field for this Singapore Grand Prix. Really cool to see another healthy sized grid in the Americas series. But, I think that's about it for the start. Don't need to talk about too much else. Bit surprised that no one's pushing too hard on this outlap. What I tend to see really quick drivers do is push quite hard on an outlap just to try and feel the car out, try and feel where the grip is, and feel whether or not the setup they have is suitable for the conditions or not. Because yeah, people, particularly towards the front, they push quite hard. There's a predicted pit stop strategy. So in the middle of the race, lap 15 to 24 is the suggested pit window. I'm going to write that down for myself. 15 to 24. Basically splitting the race in half. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if a few drivers decided to gamble on a no-stopper. Nico putting it almost into the wall, and he's in a Ferrari as well. Little bit out of the ordinary, but oh well. That's okay. Meant to be in the AlphaTauri, but evidently he didn't correctly choose that, so he's in a Ferrari for today. But I think, yeah, I think he'll be scoring points for AlphaTauri anyway, so that's okay. So Blockman, he'll be lining up in pole position on the outside line to turn 1. Now he's on the cleaner side of the racetrack. In dry conditions, that usually means a better chance for a better start. But in these wet weather conditions, it doesn't really matter which side of the racetrack you start on. It's pretty even either side. So Nico has a slight advantage because he has the inside line down towards turn 1. But he needs to nail it off the start. All 19 cars are now lined up, ready to race. We got 31 incredibly long laps in front of us and 5 red lights. And we are underway here at Marina Bay. It's a nice start from Blockman. It's a nice start from Nico. The field spreads out across the racetrack and Nico takes the lead into turn 1. All side by side between Underwood and Wombat as they go around turn 3. Wombat on the outside. Can he find the traction? The answer is no. He stays in P4. Up towards turn 5, Blockman under assault from Underwood as they go around the right-hander onto the straightaway towards turn 6. It's a drag race towards turn 7. Underwood's winning it. Mighty Wombat's closing in. Can he find a way by? He's trying to look around the outside of Blockman here at turn 7. He's run out wide. There's still room for him to try and battle down the inside at turn 8. And he gets in front of the Haas. The Haas goes into the wall, clipping the outside wall at turn 8. No obvious damage on Blockman's car. JBH P5, then KD P6. Saucy in 7, then Axis overtaking Saucy down the inside, heading towards turn 10. Saucy fights back though, or tries to at least, but he has to settle for P8. Through the chicane, turns 11 and 12, onto the Anderson Bridge. JBH very close, KD even closer, down the inside making wheel-to-wheel contact there. JBH gets better traction, so does Axis, who draws alongside the McLaren and pulls in front. Axis into P6, not much that KD can do about that. Saucy in 8th, Captain Schmeg in 9th, Collider 10th, Rebellion 11th, then Black Baller, Hash, Shizant, Guitar Hero, Motion God, Rafixer, Laquito and Flavius at the back. No obvious signs of damage from any driver out there at the moment. I think everyone has gotten through relatively unscathed. Nico is our race leader. He's got a 1.5 second margin to Underwood, and that gap is increasing. Mighty Wombat is 3rd, Blockman 4th, JBH in 5th, then Axis in 6th. Blockman might have a little bit of company soon. The JBH sitting in the slipstream. Running wide is KD at the final corner, using all of the racetrack at the exit of 23. Around turn 2, up towards turn 3. JBH right on the gearbox of Blockman, but Blockman holding firm in P4. Laquito and Rafixer battling for P17 and 18 at the moment as well. They've changed places a couple of times on lap 1. Up towards turn 6 and more critically turn 7. JBH in the slipstream. He's not closing in massively. He's now 2.5 tenths behind Blockman. Axis sitting in P6. KD in 7th. Then it's a bit of a gap back to Saucy as he's under attack from Captain Schmeg, heading up towards turn 8. Williams driver just sitting behind. Then it's the 2 Alpines of Collider and Rebellion who are also following suit. So we've got a 4-car train here battling for P8. A bit of a gap back to Black Baller in 12th. 1.1 seconds separate him and Rebellion in P11. Through the chicane, turns 11 and 12. Overtake for JBH around the outside of Blockman. Blockman gets the nose in front, but JBH gets mega traction out of the hairpin. So does Axis in the Aston Martin. He draws alongside. He gets in front into the braking zone. Blockman tries to fight down the inside. They give each other room. Really good driving between both of them. But Axis gets in front. He's into P5. Blockman, from pole position, has dropped all the way down to 6th. He's had a torrid start here at Singapore. Into turn 18, underneath the grandstand where the racetrack is nice and dry. Up towards turns 20 and 21. Blockman losing control of the car there. A bit of understeer, a bit of oversteer as well. Got understeer at the entry, then he got a whole heap of oversteer on the exit. KD, can he close in on the Haas driver? Down the main straightaway towards turn 1. The gap's 4 tenths of a second between these two. Into the hairpin of turn 3. Yellow flags are out. It's Laquito spinning at the final corner. And we have a safety car. Safety car has been deployed. And that's why Laquito is missing his front wing. It's completely destroyed. So thanks to the debris caused from that crash, we have our first safety car of the race on lap 3 of 31. This really is going to be a long race. Well, this nullifies the lead that Nico has built over these first few laps. Look at the lead he had. 3 seconds over Underwood. Looked untouchable in these opening laps, but now it's all gone. Now it's too early for anyone to pit, so I reckon if anyone does pit, they must have damage, like Laquito, for example. This will give drivers who are doing a no-stop race the opportunity to try and preserve their tyres just a little bit. So this will help the no-stoppers. But yeah, there will be absolutely no need to pit right now unless you have damage. Blockman Mine, he has dropped like a stone in water. Look at that, down 5 places. Shocking start. He and Guitar Hero have lost the most amount of places out of any driver in the field, both down 5. The people who have gained the most is both JBH and Axis. They have made up 7 positions each. Up from 11th to 4th and 12th to 5th. Awesome start from both of them. Not a bad start from Black Baller either, up 3 places. Underwood up 2. Of course, Nico, we had that epic start and he had a huge margin. It's now going to disappear. So yeah, everyone will stay out. It appears that Blockman, even though he has dropped quite a few positions, it's not thanks to damage. He's not come in. Oh, a drive-through for Rebellion for speeding under safety car conditions. Yeah, you gotta be really careful with the Delta, man. The Delta can screw you over in an instant. You gotta keep an eye on it. Especially in this game. It is so busted in this game. Unfortunately for the Alpine driver, he will have to serve that under green flag conditions, and that will ultimately screw his race over. He has to pray for another safety car at some point. But on current numbers, it took 3 laps to get our first safety car. We're bound to have another one at some point. So yeah. Tell you what, while we'll have the opportunity, I'll take a quick squiz at not settings, lane, race director. I hate how it unpauses itself. It's so strange how it unpauses itself. I don't know why it doesn't. Alright, so Motion God has a warning. So does Saucy. Laquito has a warning. Black Baller, JBH, KD, Underwood, Mighty Wombat, and Laquito. So Laquito has 2 warnings next to his name. He's the only one with 2. And of course, Rebellion got a drive-through penalty for speeding. Ouch. Yeah, that'll screw his race over big time, unless there's another safety car. Now, that's it in terms of race director. Not much to go through. There's the oil. Just briefly disappeared. And from the looks of things, we'll be doing another lap behind the safety car. I mentioned through qualifying that out laps and in laps take forever around this place. Another thing that takes forever is safety car periods. They take an eternity. And hopefully Nico stays behind the safety car and not gets angry at the virtual burn Maylander. Unlike Mr. Perez. Copped a 5-second for it. There wasn't even a Delta? Not surprising, man. Correct. Rebellion. Correct. That comment is absolutely correct. So, yeah, I'm sorry, there's just not much you can do. Rain's still tumbling down, so I don't think the track will be drying up anytime soon. Probably be an intermediate race all the way through, I would guess. But yeah, this game is rubbish. There's no other way of putting it. The game's rubbish. It is. It is a. It's a piece of poo with a EA badge just plastered on top of it. That's what it is. Don't worry, they're working very hard on this game, trying to add in as many items as possible that you can purchase in the podium pass. As KD gets a 5-second time penalty for a severe collision with Blockman. Dear oh dear. And I think he's missing a front wing too. No? That was just a camera angle. It looked like his car was missing a wing from the camera angle I had. He's missing an end plate though, so there was definitely a collision. There's no doubt about that. And he will have to come in to get that fixed. What else is coming in? The safety car. Yeah, KD, a bit like Rebellion, has been a bit screwed here during this safety car period. Rightio. Yeah, a bit of a no indeed. Broke vegan. Just hit the car in front, damaged his wing, and yeah, he'll have to come in, get that wing fixed, plus serve the 5-second time penalty. Yeah, not going to be fun. Not going to be fun. Nico coming through turns 20 and 21. He's getting ready for the restart, making his way up towards the final two turns. You see him weaving, trying to get temperature. There's a gap and a half between JBH and Axis. They close up now, but yeah, it's a bit tentative there. KD comes in, an awkward pit lane entry as it usually is here at Singapore. I think a lot of people could probably agree. Singapore has one of the worst pit entries on the Formula One calendar, and we have yellows out as Motion God is out of the race, crashing out at the final corner down the main straightaway. He is out. Rebellion's in to serve a drive-through. KD front wing. Same with Black Baller, it seems. They all go on to new tyres. Except for Rebellion, of course, who was serving the drive-through. Into turn 7. Nico out in front, leading the way. He's already got almost a second to Underwood. Wombat P3, JBH in 4th, then Axis P5. It's a bit of a gap between him and Blockman. 1.4 seconds between Axis and Blockman as it stands. Saucy in 7th, then Captain Schmeg, Collider, and Hash rounds out the top 10. Into turns 11 and 12. Over the Anderson Bridge, Wombat applying pressure to the AlphaTauri driver. Head around turn 13. Important that you get nice traction onto this straight away. Up towards turn 14. Using a little bit of battery, I caught a glimpse of that. Using just a little bit. Into 14, using just a little bit of inside curb. Towards turn 15, the left-hander. And into the cascade of 90-degree turns. Turn 16. 17. Oh, you saw that there. He took too much of the inside curb and the car bottomed out. You could see the car straighten just briefly. And if you're really, really unlucky and you're carrying a bit too much speed, that bottoming out can understeer the car so much you end up in the outside wall. Fortunately for Mighty Wombat, he was able to get some grip and not understeer into the wall. Unlike what happened at turn 23 you saw a few moments ago where he lost the back end. Coming out of turn 3, around turn 4, up towards turn 5. The gap between Underwood and Wombat now 9/10. The gap between P1 and 2, 1.2 seconds. Nico just doing what he did exactly before the safety car period. Blockman had a moment. He had a moment and a half coming out of turn 5. Lost all traction and then some, but somehow managed to gather it back up. But he has Saucy, Captain Schmeg and Collider closing in right behind. But yeah, Nico's doing exactly what he did before that first safety car period. Just getting on with it, trying to drive away. He's got 1.2 seconds over Underwood at the moment. I just realised what I said. Over Underwood. Funny that. Around turn 13, onto the straightaway. Saucy closing in just a little bit. Captain Schmeg hovering behind. Same with Collider. Hash has got company in P10. He's got Shizant, Guitar Hero, right behind him. Rafixa 1.6 seconds back, so he's not quite in the fight. But if these three start to scrap, then he will definitely be in the fight. Nico's lost time. He's lost a fair bit of time. What's wrong with the Ferrari? Yeah, it was about 1.2 seconds. It's now 0.8 of a second. So Nico, he's not doing what he was doing before the safety car period. He's not driving away. Underwood's keeping up. Is there a problem with that Ferrari? I'm not sure. He's using battery, as you saw there. Down the main straightaway into turn 1. Down to second gear. Short shifting up to 4th gear. He goes around turn 2, then around turn 3. Underwood driving pretty well in P2. Holding his own. See, they're keeping to the left-hand side of the circuit. He's trying to open up turn 5 as much as he humanly can. Heading down the straightaway towards turn 6. And then turn 7. Monty Wombat hovering behind in P3. We've got a tightish fight between the top 3 cars. Then we've got JBH in 4th, who just missed the apex at turn 7. Axis is closing in behind, but he too, like Blockman at turn 5, lost control of the car at the exit of turn 7, but managed to gather it back up. Speaking of Blockman, he's lost time, 4.5 seconds off. He is not liking these wet weather conditions. Either that or he's got a default setup. Either or. Because it is entirely possible. Because the amount of times I've had a lobby reset and just forget to put a setup on. I think I could count about 2-3 times I've done that. One of them was in the wet. At Australia. Was not fun. At Australia. Up towards turn 7. Saucy, Captain Schmegan Collider hovering behind. Mighty Wombat, he's up in behind Underwood. Heading up towards turn 18. They'll head underneath the grandstand. You can see here nice and dry, so drivers should find plenty of traction through that chicane. Not quite the same story though through turns 20 and 21. You can see it's nice and dry again because there's a highway overpass that goes over the circuit. And heading back onto the main straightaway up towards turn 1. They'll go underneath another overpass, so it's nice and dry in this braking zone as Laquito gets a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, it's quite fascinating seeing all the dry bits. We come up to another one here as KD gets a time penalty himself. Oh, he spun. He has spun at turn 16 and rejoins down in 18th position in last place. This is turning into a wretched race for KD. That is a piece of end plate on the ground. Who smacked the wall? Oh, it's Laquito. He did. He's come in to repair his front wing. Yeah, there are a couple of dry areas around the racetrack. Rather fascinatingly. And what you typically see at street circuits, especially a compact city like Singapore, it's very similar to Monaco. Got that massive tunnel where it's all nice and dry, so drivers find plenty of grip through there. Don't get much grip anywhere else though in the wet weather at Circuit de Monaco. I'm sure plenty of drivers would be glad that we're not going there this season for the Tuesday and Sunday series. For Formula Endurance, so we're definitely going to Monaco, and I'm a part of that. 78 laps of Monaco. I'm praying for that race it doesn't rain. God, if it rains there, yeah, it's not going to be fun. Wombat still applying pressure to Underwood. Half a second separating these two. A little bit further back, we've got a battle between JBH and Axis still, who are continuing to pull away from Blockman in P6. The gap's now 5.2 seconds. So Blockman just does not have the pace in these conditions. Black Baller has crashed. KD involved, I think. And we have another safety car. They've crashed at the chicane. So Black Baller hit the wall, and you can see KD's car. It's missing a front wing. Did the two tangle through the chicane? Come up to the chicane here. Look at Black Baller's car hard in the wall on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Missing the Tech Pro barrier and going head-on into the concrete. So Black Baller out. We're down to 17. Got another safety car. And this will save everyone who got screwed over on the opening few laps. So Blockman, Captain Schmeg, they're all coming in. They're coming in for fresh intermediates. Flavius is doing the same. Rebellion giving him a hurry up. Come on, mate. Get into pits. Get into the pits. No need to dawdle. KD doing the same. Obviously, he's got damage. A lot of damage on that McLaren. Laquito, I don't think he has any need to pit. Yeah, correct. Rogue Vegan. Top 3 in the championship separated by 9 points. And the top 3 are also in the top 4. Nico, our championship leader, P1. Mighty Wombat, P3. JBH, P4. So they're all up towards the front. 4th in the championship is in the pit lane. In last. KD not having a fun race. But again, this safety car period will really help out the nose stoppers. Just gives them an opportunity to cool the tyres down, not wear them out anywhere near as much, and extend the longevity of the tyre. Do another 2 or 3 laps behind the safety car. And yeah, this will really help out the nose stoppers. But this will give everybody an opportunity to catch up. Give everyone another go at trying to make up positions. Just be waiting on KD. KD a little ways behind. He's got a time penalty as well. 3 seconds. Laquito has 6. Let's take a look at Race Director, shall we? So, after the safety car period, which ended on lap 3, as you can tell from the penalty, KD, a severe collision with Blockman, a 5-second time penalty. We saw that under safety car conditions. JBH got a track limits warning. Motion gone retired. We saw that briefly, saw the end of it anyway. Coming out of the final corner, onto the main straightaway, he lost control and put it into the pit lane wall. The wall that separates the pit lane and the main straight. Rebellion got a warning for crossing the pit lane exit white line. Guitar Hero got an exceeding track limits warning. Laquito got one as well, which resulted in a 3-second time penalty. Mighty Wombat's got an exceeding track limits warning. I think that means he's got 2 now. Laquito got another and another. KD got 1 too. Laquito got another. Now he's got 6 seconds. And he's now got 7 warnings next to his name. Refixa, exceeding track limits. KD corner cutting. That is interesting. Not an exceeding track limits, corner cutting on lap 8. KD, multiple warnings, getting 3 seconds. Shizant, collision with Hash, so a collision warning. Black Baller exceeding track limits, and on the same lap, terminal damage, and here's a key bit to look out for. Lap 9, KD, warning for collision with Black Baller. So ultimately, these two came together. It's not as if they had 2 separate accidents at the same corner. They are related to one another. So, and coming out of that, we're still waiting for the tail end of the field to catch up to the tail of the massive train behind the safety car. So in terms of the nose stoppers, we got 9 cars left. We got Nico down to Refixa, the top 9. Everyone else has made a pit stop. And I'd say theoretically every one of them can make it, because if you remember to the beginning of this race when we were looking at the formation lap, the predicted pit stop strategy had the pit window at lap 15 to 24. So that means, according to the game, the tyres can do a maximum of 24 laps. We've got less than 24 laps to go. A few less than 24 laps to go. So everyone on fresh rubber now can definitely make it to the end. The question is, can everyone else who hasn't stopped yet make it? That'll be the big question heading towards the end of the race. Of course, we are very, very likely to have more safety car periods to come, which will, again, drastically change the shape of this race. So, we need to remain on our toes. But for now, there's a level of anticipation on whether or not those who started on the intermediate tyres that do a nose stopper, can they make it? Can the tyres stay in one piece. And I think at the end of this lap we'll get back under green flag racing as well. The tail of the field is now catching up to the back of the train. So this will be our final lap behind the safety car. I agree, HCW. Anyone who does a no stop, their tyres will be pretty shot towards the end of the race. I imagine their tyres are going to be very much in puncture territory. And if you don't know where that is, that's when you hit about 70%, 70 to 75%. That's when you enter the puncture territory range. And then it's usually down to RNG after that point. You can hit 75% and immediately get a puncture. Or, if you're really lucky, like one driver that I actually witnessed do this, by the name of GeForce Crichton, a race in America, he got his tyres to 100% at the end of the race, did not puncture. Somehow. Like, they hit 100% on the last lap, they didn't puncture. So it's completely down to RNG. There's no formula behind it. There can't be a formula behind it. It's completely random. But the range is somewhere between 70 to about 75%. That's when you enter it. And I reckon, yeah, everyone who tries a no-stop is going to be in that range towards the end. Nico's now controlling the field. Backing the field up through the final sector, allowing the virtual bird Maylander to return to his home in the pit lane. Nico will decide when to restart this race. Now, he did it just before the final corner, or the final two corners, I should say. And I reckon he's going to do something fairly similar here. He doesn't need to do anything creative to try and build up a massive margin. He demonstrated earlier that he's got pace, but recently, before this safety car period, he did lose a little bit of speed to those behind him. But he's maintained his lead at the front of the field. He'll come up to 22 and 23, and he'll take off just before the final two turns. Onto the main straightaway he goes. It's now lap 13 of 31. We've got 19 laps to go. 19 long laps to go. JBH has overtaken Collider, and Mighty Wombat is right up behind Underwood, coming out of turn 3. He's got a nice run. He tries to draw alongside the AlphaTauri, heading up towards turn 5, but he's stuck on the outside. Can he get the over-under done? He's going to have a go, you know, and he does it. He's through into P2. What a lovely manoeuvre from Wombat. Around the outside, pulled the car up early, got to the inside of Underwood, and he got by into second position. A fine move indeed. Axis in P4, Saucy in 5th. There's a bit of a gap between him and Hash as JBH, Collider and Captain Smith. Oh my goodness me, it's a car park. Damage for Collider as well as he hit the back of JBH. At turn 8, he's got a missing end plate on that Alpine. Captain Schmeg a bit stuck. He now has Blockman right behind him, heading up towards the Singapore Sling. Up towards turn 10, Collider won't have a great deal of downforce, and it shows. He's understeering like a boat through these corners. Look at the understeer collision between the two cars at turn 11. Over the Anderson Bridge, there is Blockman waiting behind. Into the hairpin of turn 13. Collider's got no grip on the front. With that end plate damage, tons of wheel spin at the exit of 13 there for Captain Schmeg as they head up towards turn 14. Oh, look at the Alpine in front, struggling to get the front end. Up towards the cascade of 90-degree corners in the final sector. Captain Schmeg will have pace, but he's got nowhere to try and pass the Alpine. He's just going to be stuck behind him. Now, Collider, will he pit? Will he stay out? That is the question. Will he try and fight on with the damage, or will he concede and pit? There's a fairly high chance of another safety car during this race. So will he pit? The answer is yes. Ducks off to the left into pit lane, into the one of the worst pit lane entries on the Formula 1 schedule. JBH closing in on Raffixa. Yellow flags in the final sector. Who is it? Is it Liquito? I think it is. He has spun at the final turn again. Did it once before, destroyed his front wing, but he gets going. New front wing for Collider. Out in front, Nico leading the way. Half a second behind him is Mighty Wombat in P2. 6 tenths, 7 tenths now behind him is Underwood, and following closely behind is Axis. That's the top 4. It's a bit of a gap back to Saucy in P5. That's 1.3 seconds back to Hash. Shizant P7, then Guitar Hero. JBH minding his own business. Rafixer and Captain Schmeg battling. Almost into the wall goes Captain Schmeg. Oh, and overtaking him around the outside is Blockman at turn 9. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. Blockman into P11 with a fine move around the outside at turn 9. Rebellion just behind as well in P13. He wants to get involved, and so does the man in 14th position, KD. He needs to get a move on over the bridge into the hairpin of turn 13. You see how close Rebellion gets to the Williams in front. Oh, he had to get off the throttle there, Blockman. You can tell from the engine though. He had to lift. Just a hint. Up towards turn 14. Captain Schmeg closing in bit by bit. Just in front as well. Shizant applying a lot of pressure to Hash here. Up towards turn 18. Not quite close enough to do anything through here. Just have to be patient. Wait for your moment to strike, preferably in the first sector. Nico still leading the way. He's got 8/10 now over Mighty Wombat. Mighty Wombat's got a second over Underwood. And Axis is closing in. The Aston Martin driver chipping away at the gap through turn 1, into turn 2, and around turn 3. 3/10 of a second separating the two cars. Make that 4/10 now. So Underwood got quite a nice exit through turn 3 and turn 4. Captain Schmeg has overtaken Blockman as well. That was at turn 3. Heading up towards turn 6. Can Axis do anything? He's not close enough to do anything. Rebellion and Blockman side by side around turn 5. Almost a collision between the two cars, but they get around. Oh no! Into the wall goes Rebellion. Did he actually end up hitting it? Well, his front wing says no, but he got very damn close to the wall. Oh my goodness, I thought he threw it away. But no, he's still in it. He's still on the back of this train. It's not over yet. Rafixer at the front of it. In P10. Rebellion all over the back of Captain Schmeg. Rafixer loses control, but managed to gather it back up at the exit of turn 9. Into the Singapore sling. And up towards the chicane of 11 and 12. Can Captain Schmeg send it? Well, you can see Rafixer moving all over the circuit there. Up towards the hairpin. Nice wide line into the hairpin, trying to get a nice run. I think he's got one. But that little moment that Rafixer had at the exit of turn 13, it sort of compromised Captain Schmeg. Oh, getting very close on the brakes. 5-car train here battling for 10th position. And we've got a 4-car train battling for P6 on track. Oh, and a moment again from Rafixer. And around the outside goes Captain Schmeg. A nice move there. A lot of respect being shown from Rafixer as well. Didn't make any sort of contact with Captain Schmeg there. It's a very tight section. Oh, and Hash into pit lane he goes. Interesting. He's come in. Rafixer now has to try and hold off Rebellion. The Alpine driver sitting behind. Into turn 1 they go. Oh, KD deep on the brakes. Oh, and I reckon he had to cut all of turn 1 there to avoid Rebellion. Don't think it was an intentional attempt to pass. I think he just outbroke himself into turn 1. JBH overtaking Guitar Hero. Down the inside. Oh, actually, Guitar Hero leaving the door open for JBH on the racing line. So JBH moving into P7. Guitar Hero moving himself down to 8th. Oh, deep under collision between Rafixer and Rebellion. Rafixer goes into the wall. The two make contact again. They're side by side around turn 9. Rebellion around the long way can't quite get it done. It's now a drag race down to the Singapore sling. Rafixer has the inside line. Rebellion has the nose in front. They go through side by side. Rebellion runs wide. Now KD becomes involved in the battle through the chicane, and somehow everyone gets through relatively unscathed. You're kidding. Around the hairpin. Oh, KD gets close. Goes deep on the brakes at 13, but couldn't get a move done. He lost time relative to Rebellion, and now Blockman closes in. Trying to battle KD down towards turn 14. Not close enough to send it here, but he's only 3/10 behind the McLaren driver. Meanwhile, Shizant holding on to P6. He's got JBH all over his gearbox as they head around turns 20 and 21. Now, if JBH can get a nice run through the final two corners, there's an opportunity to try and pass at turn 1. But I think he's going to try and eye up turn 7. Not using any battery down this main straightaway. Through turn 1. Through turn 2. Rebellion overtaking Refixer. Refixer going into pit lane. That's why. And gives himself a 5-second time penalty for speeding. He probably got damage with what happened at turn 8. He did get a whack from behind from Rebellion, and as a result he did hit the outside wall at turn 8. So he's probably come in to try and repair that car. Rebellion now has got his hands full with KD. The McLaren driver drawing alongside, heading down the straightaway, but Rebellion's got some nice straight line speed in the Alpine. Up towards turn 7, KD looking around the outside, sending it in deep, and he gets it done. What a manoeuvre. As Captain Schmeg's out, he's crashed at turn 8, the exit of turn 8. And we have a virtual say, oh, hello Rebellion, how do you do? That's turned to a safety car. The yellow dot's appeared. It's a safety car. KD's trying to let Rebellion through. KD got a illegal overtake prompt, so he has to let Rebellion back through. So, another safety car has been deployed on lap 17 of 31 here at Marina Bay. How about that? It looked like just a virtual safety car, but I think it evolved from a VSC to a safety car. Into the pits we will go. That's what the leaders are chanting right now. They're in. They can't make it on these tyres. They're coming in. Saucy in as well. Shizant's in. They're coming in. All of them. JBH will take the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Shizant gets a 5-second time penalty for speeding in the pits. Can anyone else overtake the former leaders? The answer is no. So they don't lose anything except just one position to JBH. He's our new race leader. Yeah, quite right, Ferrari Pro. You've had a horrible week here at Singapore. Elite Series and Pacific Tier 1 really did not go your way at all. Rebellion overtakes Axis. Okay, so he's P4. So Axis loses an extra place. KD now up to 6th position. Then Blockman. Underwood down to 8th. 8th. He lost a significant amount of time. He's behind Axis now. He had to have been held in the pit lane. He must have been held in the pit lane. He's a long way behind those he was battling with. He had to have been held. Either that, or he had a front wing change. Let's have a look. That's settings lane, for crying out loud. Race director. Pit stops, please. Pit stops. Underwood. Front wing change. Interesting. So he was carrying some damage on that AlphaTauri. He's come in and he's got it fixed. Okay, that does explain a bit there. 1.8 second stop, by the way, for Shizant. I think that was thanks to the slight double stack he had to go through, thanks to Saucy in front of him pitting. So, Shizant, yeah, quickest stop of the night, 1.8 seconds. So yeah, that explains why Underwood's lost positions. Front wing change. Right. Well, I think now everyone could make it to the end. I don't think anyone else needs to make any pit stops. As I mentioned before, the pit window suggested by the game at the beginning of the race was like 15 to 24. So these tyres have roughly a 24-lap lifespan. I think ACW, it was a slight double stack because his teammate Saucy was in front of him as Guitar Hero goes into pit lane for a front wing change. His teammate was in front of him, and I think the game compensates for the slight double stack by giving the person behind a slightly quicker pit stop. That's why it's 1.8 seconds. So it's not like he magically optimized his pit entry. I think the game gave him an assist because of the double stack. I think. Alright. Got it clicking. At 0.01, get the ultra mega perfect pit stop. Yep, absolutely. There's a secret gold zone that you need to nail. And then you get the Red Bull pit stop, the mega Red Bull pit stop. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't think tyres will be a major concern from here to the end. I think everyone can make it from here. The major concerns will turn to the penalties. You can see KD, Shizant, Rafixa, and Laquito has 9 seconds next to his name. But those 4 drivers have penalties. 2 of those drivers can serve... Uh-oh. These two pass one another. What's going on here? Shizant backing off quite a bit. Yeah, these two have 5-second time penalties, Shizant and Rafixa, so they can serve their time penalties in the pits. That was not a sight you want to see. But yeah, if any more drivers get these 3-second time penalties and we have a late race safety car, which on current numbers is seriously likely, penalties are going to become a major factor at the end of this race. They're going to become a seriously major factor. We'll also take a look at position changes. JVH, he's now up 10 positions, and that's a genuine 10 positions thanks to the strategy he's on. He's going to try and go to the end on those tyres. He has to try. He's now got track position over Nico, who has been leading this race from start to now, really, until he made his pit stop onto a fresh set of intermediate tyres. Mighty Wombat P3, then Rebellion, then Axis and KD. Blockman, Underwood, then the 2 Red Bulls of Saltsea and Shizant. Collider P11, Rafixa, Guitar Hero, Flavius, Hash, and Laquito, who goes back into pit lane. Has he got wing damage on this lap? Is there a front wing at the ready? It looks like there isn't one. Just another set of inters. Teams... They have 3 sets of inters? Is it 3 sets or 2 sets? I know it's 2 sets of full wets. But is it 3 sets or 2 sets of intermediate tyres? I can't quite remember with this year's tyre allocation. It's 4 sets of softs, 1 set of mediums, 1 set of hards. Is it 3 sets of inters or 2 sets of inters? I would have to check myself. I'm sure somebody could confirm that in the chat. Yeah, I can't remember. But I think when Laquito catches up, hopefully this lap, we'll go back under green flag racing. And that'll give us 11 laps to go. 3 sets of inters. Thank you, RCD. Thank you. I knew it was one or the other. Not quite right, Broke Vegan. 3 DNFs, especially in these conditions on this racetrack, is not a bad effort at all. And we saw during that middle period of the race that these guys aren't exactly holding back either. They're going for it. Safety car's in this lap, so it's not going to wait for Laquito. It is coming in. So Laquito needs to get a hurry on to try and catch up to the back of the train. And I think he will be able to. Yeah, Tier 1 was a bit dull last night. But it happens. It happens. Singapore, it's either a drama fest or a bore fest. That's always something that I believed in with this racetrack. It can get incredibly boring. The gaps can spread out. But yeah, Pacific Elite, though, has been very interesting. And American Series so far has been interesting as well. So hopefully that trend continues for the final 11 laps of this race. As JBH controlling the field, backing everyone up to allow the safety car to go back into the pits. Now, when will JBH go? Nico has gone just before turn 22. Oh, he goes now. There he goes at the exit of turn 21. Makes his way around the final two corners, back onto the main straightaway. It's lap 11. It's lap 21 of 31. We have 11 laps to go. As Rebellion gets by Axis. Is that what I saw on the leaderboard there? Oh, understeering wide is KD at turn 2. He had to cut the track there. Rejoined safely though, so that should be okay. Blockman in P7, then Underwood, then the two Red Bulls. Look at this field bunching up here towards turn 5. Underwood trying to find a way by Blockman. He tries to do the over-under, and he's successful too. He draws alongside and passes the Haas. Fantastic manoeuvre there. He's into P7. Now his next target will be KD 1997. Blockman though, can he counter-attack? Not quite. Oh, Sortsy almost goes into the back of Blockman there as Axis and Rebellion battle for position. Axis getting back by into P4, Rebellion down to 5th. Oh, there's battles going on elsewhere too. I have to try and keep an eye on Underwood closing in on KD. Down the straightaway towards the Singapore Sling. Can he draw alongside? He doesn't want to draw alongside. I wouldn't want to draw alongside either. Up towards turns 11 and 12. The chicane, third gear, clobbering over the inside curbs. Over the Anderson Bridge, short shifting up to 4th gear. Into the hairpin. Not quite close enough to try and send it on KD. But in these conditions, you can definitely send it down the inside if you really want to. Using up some battery. Closing up the gap. Does he look to the inside here? Not quite. He stays behind the defending Drivers' Champion. Lockman P8. Then it's the two Red Bulls. And they have Refixer and Guitar Hero for company. It's a tight battle here in the midfield. Oh, cutting the track is Guitar Hero. Oh dear. And passing him is Collider in the Alpine. Oh, Guitar Hero goes into the wall there at turn 17. Oh, and Collider's got damage. Look, he's missing an end plate on that Alpine. So he'll have to come in and get that fixed. Dear, oh dear. But he stays out. He's going to try and fight on. I think at this stage of the race, sort of have to rely on safety cars to try and repair damage. Underwood, KD, side by side. It's tight. Oh, and I think the two might have made contact. Blockman now closes in. But there at the apex of turn 1, it was very, very tight. Underwood lost control of the car. I'm not sure if that was a curb. I'm not sure if that was contact between him and KD. They were very close together at turn 1. Fortunately, both cars are still running. Blockman in trouble. He's got Shizant right behind. He's got some decent straight line speed in the Haas, which allows him to hang on to position. He stays in P8, but Shizant's got speed. Wombat pressuring Nico. And look at JBH out in front. He's making those older tyres work, doing a fantastic job at the front of the field. Nico a second back, then Mighty Wombat, then Axis. Then it's a gap of 5 seconds to Rebellion. Rebellion just not hanging on. Does he have damage perhaps on that Alpine? Over the bridge, I can't really tell. I might have to get a second look at that front wing. It looks pretty intact from my point of view. But he might have damage. He might have a little bit of damage. Guitar Hero overtaking Refixer. That was for P11. Down the straightaway towards turn 12. Underwood close, but just not close enough to try and battle the McLaren into turn 14. Speaking of battling, these two have been going at it. Refixer and Guitar Hero. Collider's in this as well. This is a battle for P10, 11 and 12. As they go through 15 into the chicane of 16 and 17. Refixer under a bit of pressure. A lot of understeer from Hash. A lot of lagging from Refixer as they head up towards the grandstand at turn 18. Guitar Hero, he does have to be careful when you've got a laggy car in front of you. You've got no idea where it is. So you need to be very careful. Axis sets a new fastest lap at 53.7. Nico, Wombat and Axis set fastest laps one after the other. And Collider has gone into pit lane. He can't fight on with that damaged front wing, so he has to pray for another safety car. Shizant, meanwhile, trying to attack Blockman, who understeers wide at the entry to turn 2. Potentially got himself a warning. It's fairly likely he got himself a warning. You see there, Blockman was able to pull away quite considerably at turn 3. Around turn 5, Shizant trying to close the gap. Look at him, he's using battery. Sitting in the slipstream, trying to close the gap. KD trying to have a go at Rebellion. Down the inside at turn 7. He gets in front, he's into P5. Can Underwood follow through? The answer is no. Can't do it at turn 8 anyway. Could he try somewhere else? Somewhere more unorthodox. Perhaps turn 13. It's a nice run out of turn 9. Heading up towards turn 10. The Singapore Sling. Needs a nice run through here. Oh, collision! Rebellion's hit the wall at the Singapore Sling. He hit the inside wall, and we have another safety car. The debris on the racetrack has brought out the 4th safety car of the race. Oh my goodness me, he just clipped the inside wall just enough to completely destroy his front wing. But, he's still in the race, astonishingly, with accidents like that. Hot tyres as well. With accidents like that, you tend to really get the short end of the stick, as in you retire from the race. But no, he hit that wall and he's still running. Somehow. But it's not been a great day for Alpine, that's for sure. JBH not bothering to go into the pits there. Oh. So this is going to be the sprint to the flag, is it? This is it. We're going to spend a few laps behind the safety car. This is going to be the sprint to the checkered flag from here on out. Now, penalties. I mentioned in the previous safety car period that penalties are going to play a factor if we get a late race safety car. And lo and behold, my words have come true. They've turned to life. Typical commentator's curse stuff. We're going to have, I think, 4 or 5 laps of green flag running at the end of the race. I mean, we've got 8 laps to go. We're going to be spending 2 or 3 laps behind the safety car. We got guys in pit lane. We got Rebellion, Laquito pitting in for fresh rubber. Rebellion for a front wing change after his shunt at the Sling. Also to mention as well, I've talked about pit lane entry here at Singapore. Singapore is also home to one of the worst pit lane exits in Formula 1. I absolutely hate the exit here at Singapore. It's tight, it's tedious, you have to be so careful on the throttle, especially on cold tyres. It's just horrible. Horrible, horrible, horrible. The whole pit lane here is just horrible. Definitely one of the worst pit lane exits. Next to maybe Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi's one. It's just long. It's tight. Very easy to put it into a wall. Spa. Spa's another horrible one. Tight hairpin, tight. Just close quarters driving. Just not nice. Singapore. Yeah. Hate Singapore. The whole pit lane. It's just really nasty. Ah. How is this all going to unfold? A late race dash to the checkered flag in intermediate conditions. Got drivers with pens. How is this going to all end? One of the longest races we've had in the America Series. Your POV, huh? Having a great time out there. Just minding your own business out there. Look, mate, if you're going to ask for me to go on your POV, it's best that you don't do something like that, eh? Look, it says Rebellion on the screen, and I like saying Rebellion. I could go to Rebel Lion. Another donut. Classy stuff. Oh, what's happening here? Guitar Hero and Hash changing places. Hopefully that doesn't screw anything up. Refixer in for... sorry, Laquito in for another front wing, I think that was. And for a change of tyres. He has pitted a lot in this race. How many has he done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops he's done so far. Is it actually 6? Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's pitted so many times that this indicator can't... Oh, no, it does show it off probably. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, he's missing an indicator. He's pitted 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, he's done it 7 times. There should be 8 sets of tyres on there. Oh, no rear wing light. Oh, goodness. Yeah, that does explain a bit then. Well, here's the silver lining to your situation, right? You're in the points. I mean, you're currently going to score 1, but it's a point. So, you know, you can take something home from all of this. It's not much, but it's something. So... Alrighty. Another lap behind the safety car. Another whole heap of waiting. About to commence. Now lap 26. At this stage we would have 6 laps to go. And I think on the next lap, on lap 27, we'll get back under green flag conditions. And we'll have the sprint to the checkered. We'll take one final look at Race Director as well. Look at the incidents we've had. All the exceeding track limits, the drive-through, 5-second time penalties being dished out, 3-second time penalties being dished out, black ballers terminal damage, multiple warnings there. See, Marty Wombat copped a warning on lap 21. Copped a 3-second time penalty, which is going to hurt him because he's in this fight for the win. He's definitely in this fight for the win. 3rd position, he's in a nice place, but those 3 seconds next to his name are going to hold him back quite significantly. And unfortunately for McLaren, it's a similar story to Mighty's teammate KD. Both of them have 3 seconds. So in order to win this race, not only must they get to the front of the field, they must drive like Ayrton Senna and build up a 3-second margin in these conditions. You know, that's not a problem if you're Ayrton Senna. Just need to prove that, I guess. Drive like hell in these final few laps. Tyre life. You can see here the most we have towards the front. JBH with 15. The next 3 guys are on 8. KD's on 16. Underwood's on 8, Blockman's on 16 lap old tyres. Shizen's on 8, Saucy's on 8, Refixer on 9, Guitar Hero on 7, Hash on 9, Flavius on 8, Collider with 3, Rebellion with 2, Lakirito with 6. So... so... I think in terms of tyre life, those on the older sets of intermediate tyres, I think they'll be okay. There isn't a massive pace difference between old tyres and new tyres, so I think those on older rubber like JBH and KD, they're going to be just fine in these conditions. And they're going to be fine in terms of punctures as well. They're not going to get a puncture. So this is it. The race to the checkered flag. JBH makes his way around turns 22 and 23 back onto the main straightaway. It's not a great run through those final 2 corners, but he's kept it under control. He leads the Singapore Grand Prix with 5 laps to go. KD and Underwood battling through turn 1. Yellow flags are out. Is that Flavius? It is Flavius. As Blockman and Shizen battle for position 2 for P7 on track, and Shizen is through into 7th place. A nice move, but he's got a 5-second time penalty next to his name. Meanwhile, out in front, JBH still leads 8/10 over championship leader Nico. But Nico's in trouble. He's got Wombat right behind. Wombat not close enough to go for the move. Axis P4, then KD, then Underwood. Shizen to P7. He's got Blockman and Saucy and Rafix right behind. Into the hairpin. Well, I suppose it's a hairpin. Turn 8. Rafixer and Saucy. Saucy wide. Ooh. Saucy under attack here from Guitar Hero at turn 9. I wonder if Rafixer and Saucy came together at turn 8. I'm not sure. Up towards turn 10. The Singapore sling. Wide goes Guitar Hero. Saucy keeps P10. Hatch on the attack around the outside. Contact between the 2 cars. And as a result, Guitar Hero drops down to 13th place. Hash and Guitar Hero coming together at turn 11. And as a result, Guitar Hero now down to 13th place. Underwood underneath KD, still unable to find a way by. KD, he's not able to close the gap to Axis either. Axis holding his own. Mighty Wombat still up in behind Nico's gearbox, unable to find a way by. But out in front, JBH keeping the margin at 1 second. He's driving incredibly well in these conditions. Up towards the final 2 turns. Turns 22 and 23. He begins lap 28 of 31. We've got 4 laps to go. Nico, he needs to get the hammer down. He needs to try and close in on the race leader. He's unable to do so at the moment. Gap still hovering at about 1 second. Meanwhile, Rafixa, Sortsy, Hash, Guitar Hero, they're battling for P9 on track. Exiting turn 3, around turn 4, up towards turn 5. Sortsy needs to get a nice run. Oh, hello, Collider, down the inside of turn 5. Tried to make that move stick. Hasn't quite made it work just yet as Guitar Hero and Collider battle for P12. Up towards turn 7. A little bit of lag there, but we're getting through okay. Oh, very tight on the brakes as Sortsy gets right up in behind the Alfa Romeo. Up towards turn 8. Look at the lag. Oh dear, it's moving all over the place. Sortsy is going to have a hard time passing as Guitar Hero rounds up Collider around the outside of turn 8. Around turn 9. Into the wall goes Hash. Big time. Huge smash. Into the wall, completely destroying his front wing. Oh my goodness, he understeered hard into the barrier. It's race over for Hash. He has to make a pit stop. But I think... Oh, and he's out of the race. He's hit the wall hard at turn 12. He's out completely. And we have a safety car. You're kidding. A one final twist in the tail here at Singapore. With 3 and a bit laps to go, we have another safety car. You're kidding. Penalties are going to play a humongous factor now with this safety car. A humongous factor. Lap 29 it is now. 3 laps left in this race. And we're going to be spending at least one of them behind the safety car. I thought this was just going to be a dash to the checkered flag. No, we got an intervening safety car period. This is a sprint to the checkered flag now. We're going to have, at the absolute most, 2 laps of green flag racing. 6 miles. 46 corners of green flag racing. That will determine this race. What else will determine this race is the time penalties. Big time, with the field bunching up like it is. Everyone who has a time penalty is going to be seriously affected at the end of the race. So everyone who doesn't have a time penalty needs to be alert on these final 2 laps. They cannot afford to get clumsy warnings. Alright, will the safety car go in this lap? Or will it stay out for one more? Turning a 2-lap dash to a 1-lap shootout. What's the safety car going to do? Is he really? Hang on. So he is. Well... At this point of the race, there is the call from race control as well. It's a 2-lap dash. This is it. Guitar Hero is on a set of softs for some reason. That would probably mean he'll finish 15th. Flavius will round him up pretty quickly, I would think. Well, he's stuck on slick tyres. Alright. This is it. It all comes down to 2 laps. 6.3 miles and 46 corners. That's what it comes down to. JBH is our race leader. Championship leader, Nico in P2. Wombat P3 with a time penalty. Axis in P4. He's got a shot at another podium finish, the Aston Martin driver. Can he get by Wombat and maybe, just maybe, challenge for a race win? Here we go. Around the final 2 turns once again. Back onto the main straightaway. It is lap 30 of 31. We've got 2 laps to go. And JBH has had a really nice restart. He's got 0.8 of a second in hand over Nico in P2. Yellow flags were out briefly then as well. I think Laquito made a mistake as Saucy and Collider battle for P10 on track. Up towards turn 4. JBH trying to pull away. Wombat keeping up in behind Nico. Applying pressure to the AlphaTauri driver who was accidentally in a Ferrari for tonight. Underwood applying pressure to KD. Can he get by? Does he want to get by? Or will he just stay in behind KD and just take whatever he gets at the end of the race? We'll find out, I suppose, in a few moments. Meanwhile, these fellas still going at it. Running wide is Laquito into the right-hander of turn 8, up towards turn 9. Collider applying pressure to Saltsy. It's the last spot inside the top 10. He's getting comfortable right up against the wall at turn 9. Through turns 11 and 12 over the Anderson Bridge. Now, Mighty Wombat, he is right up in behind Nico. Does he use his battery? Now he starts to use it. Long time after the corner. He looks to the inside but does not commit to the move. Nico unable to attack the race leader. JBH is holding firm at the front of the field. Through the final sector. Through the cascade of the 90-degree turns of 16, 17, then 18 and 19. Underwood still applying pressure to KD, but KD holding firm in 5th. Through turns 20 and 21 for the second last time. Then back up towards turns 22 and 23. Up towards the final lap of the race. Lap 31 of 31. This is it. It's all down to this. Around turn 3. Nico's closed in quite significantly through the opening complex. He's found about 6/10 through that first 3 corners. Around turn 5, onto the straightaway. Oh, JBH gets awfully close to the wall there at the exit of turn 5. Around turn 6, up towards turn 7. The gap sitting at 0.7 of a second. Underwood and KD close, but no battling between the 2 cars. Behind, Rafixa in P9, a bit of a gap back to Saltsy, who still has Collider and Rebellion behind him. Back up towards the front. Nico losing a little bit of ground. The gap's now 0.9 of a second. A little bit of breathing room for race leader JBH, who makes his way towards the chicane of turns 11 and 12. He gets through it without getting a warning, without colliding a wall. Over the bridge and into the hairpin of turn 13 for the final time. Just one sector remains. The final sector of this Singapore Grand Prix. And all that JBH needs to do is keep it within the white lines. He cannot afford to get a time penalty. See, they're not abusing the track limits whatsoever there. Up towards turn 15, into turn 16 and 17. Losing control of the car there, but he keeps it together as he heads up towards turn 18 and 19. 4 corners remain for the Mercedes driver. Can he get through in one piece through turn 20, through turn 21? 2 corners left. Can he do it? He just needs to drive around these 2 turns nice and sensibly, and he does exactly that. JBH will win the Singapore Grand Prix. Nico will come home in 2nd. Axis will complete the podium in 3rd. Wombat will finish in 4th position, with Underwood rounding out the top 5. JBH, after starting in 11th position, mind you, will end up winning this race. An early call during one of the first safety car periods to move on to a second set of inters has worked to perfection. What a drive. He'd be very happy with that one. I certainly would be. Just be waiting on the final couple of finishes. But outside of the top 5, we have KD, Blockman, the 2 Red Bulls of Shizant and Saucy, and Rafixa. That completes the top 10. Flavius and Guitar Hero will cross the line. It'll be our final 2 finishes. Oh. Driver of the day. No surprises there. Started from 11th. Ended up winning this race. A fine performance indeed from JBH. You can give your own driver of the day to yourself, Rebellion. Fair enough. What an interesting race here at Singapore. Plenty of drama, plenty of technical issues. A very interesting wet weather Singapore Grand Prix. JBH, your race winner. P2 goes to Nico. Rounding out the podium places is Axis for Aston Martin. How about that? So, after 4 podium finishes, JBH gets victory number 1 for Season 7 here in the Americas Series, winning by 7.5 tenths over championship leader Nico in P2. Axis gets P3, the final podium spot. Great drive from him from 12th to 3rd, and he also gets fastest lap as well. Mighty Wombat P4, Underwood P5, KD 6th, followed by Blockman, Shizant, Saucy, and Rafixa rounds out the top 10. Rebellion P11, followed by Collider, Liquito, Flavius, and Guitar Hero. Hash is classified in 16th position, but our retirements include Captain Schmeg, Black Baller, and Motion God. So there we are. The end of another week of racing here on Race Spec Esports, and America's Series turning it on once again, even in wet weather conditions on one of the toughest racetracks on the Formula One schedule. That was something. That was quite a lot of fun once again. Yeah, victory number 1 after 4 podium finishes in Netherlands, Monza, a 3rd place finish at Miami, and a 2nd place finish at Spain. Victory number 1 for JBH. Championship rivals also finished in the top 5, so that 3-way fight at the top still definitely on between all 3 of them. Fantastic stuff. Oh. I think, folks, I'll end another stream here for the American Series. Another fun one. JBH indeed, Bird Vegan. What a drive. What an effort. What an effort from everybody, to be honest. In those conditions, we definitely saw a fair bit of drama, but we saw some good racing as well. So you got to give credit to the guys. Keeping it together in these sort of conditions, not easy. And they were able to battle, and for the most part it looked pretty respectful. So, but no, I definitely enjoyed that Singapore Grand Prix. That was quite a lot of fun. And I think, chat, that will wrap another week up. It's time to end the stream. Thank you to everyone joining along. Quite a chatty stream today, which is fantastic. Nearly 150 comments, which is fantastic as well. So no, thank you everyone for watching. But I've been LaneEveringham, and we'll see you next week for round 7 of the championship at Suzuka Circuit for the Japanese Grand Prix. Next week, I hope, is going to be another week of fun. Because Suzuka, it's definitely a driver's circuit. Qualifying is bound to be extremely interesting. Look, with races at Suzuka, it can be a tad bit boring, but I have seen quite a few very, very interesting races at Suzuka. And with America Series, these fellas just really don't disappoint. So next week is bound to be a hell of a lot of fun. But until next time, folks, it's goodbye.